And she never lived it down as I was progressing. I would never have to say anything. She would just cringe every time she saw me going, how did we let you go? But anyway.
Welcome to Building Perspective, the Master Builders SA podcast. I'm your host, Frogley. Join me as I speak with some characters in the building and construction industry.
Sleep in, did ya?
Whether you're just starting out
Jeez, no worries.
or you're about to knock off, it's good to know that your money is still on the job.
You in that caravan.
Seabus Super, making hard work pay off.
It's great to be here today with one of the big characters of South Australia's building and construction industry. That is, of course, Dino Pietrobon from BIANCO. Dino, welcome to Building Perspective.
Thanks very much, Will, and good morning to you.
Yeah, you are a big character, and everyone knows who you are. And
Cool.
you know you've had a good career, mate. Starting from apprentice bricklayer to CEO, it's a great journey. It's a great example of where a career in building construction can take you. So thanks for taking the time to come in and have a chat with us.
Thanks, Will. And I think I'm hoping you mean big by character, not big by girth, right?
Oh, of course, that goes without saying. But I mean, you are a big character, and BIANCO is a very well known company in South Australia. But it all started by being an apprentice bricklayer, didn't it? Tell us a bit about that and how you started in the industry.
It did. 1982, my brother was an apprentice brickie with the MBA. He was actually one of the very first apprentice schemes that when the MBA started in 1982. He was one of the very first apprentices. Actually, he was 1981, to be corrected. I was looking to become an apprentice in 1982 at 15 years old. And the MBA didn't accept me. They rejected me on the grounds that I was average and not quite totally suitable. So I went out on my own, jumped on my push bike at 15, rode up to Bianco's and asked for an apprenticeship up there with Nick Bianco. So away I was at 15. I was riding my push bike to work every day, building the law courts in Victoria Square. That progressed to a number of the big commercial jobs in Adelaide at the time, the Adelaide TAFE Centre, the Adelaide Remand Centre, a school down at Aberfoyle Park. Finished my apprenticeship and Nick presented me with an opportunity to work in the office as an estimator. So I kind of put a lot behind my apprenticeship. You know, I put all my energy back towards being excellent at what I did. So I was a straight distinction student at trade school. I won a couple of awards, the Silver Brick Award, the Florence Taylor Award. My brother and I had entered the Work Skill Australia competitions and we'd won them as the first and second, gold and silver. And then Nick Bianco saw the opportunity to put me in the office. So I was an estimator for a year. And then that progressed to, doing all the looking after the men, all the recruiting and fun, supplying all the men to the jobs. I then went into consulting work. So Bianco had a consultant back then that used to help the company grow, and I ended up buying that. I worked very closely with that consultant for 5 years, and then I ended up buying that business, a company called Australian Consulting and Training. And then for 10 years, I was a turnaround specialist, and I'd offer management training and chairing management meetings for companies. Then I ended up inventing a couple of things along the way, which I commercialised and patented and then commercialised nationally, sold those patents off, done a deal with Russell Bianco to go and run Precast. Been doing that for 20 years. 11 years ago, we bought the hardware business off of the receivers after Nick Bianco went broke, essentially. And then I've been running that one for the last 8 years as well. So it's been a great career in the building industry that stemmed from bricklaying.
And to think that Master Builders didn't think you were cut out for it. You sure proved us wrong, didn't you, Dino?
There was the lady heading it up was Robin Hart. She's the sweetest lady. And she never lived it down as I was progressing. I would never have to say anything. She would just cringe every time she saw me going, how did we let you go? But anyway, that's all good.
Well, it's good it didn't make you have a negative perception of MBA because you've gone on to be one of our greatest supporters. You know, you're a good sponsor of the Master Builders Group Training Organisation, the apprentice program. Obviously, you said as an apprentice, you're very passionate about it, aren't you?
Very much so, because there's a misguided view in society at the moment that if you do not go to university, you're a failure almost. So my sons both went to Christian Brothers College, and when my eldest son came out of school, he was at a real loss about what his career was going to be because he didn't want to go to uni, and he was at the point of having some anxiety over it. And I said to him, mate, just get a trade. And it was almost foreign words to him that it wasn't an option, because the perception or the way it was created by, the definition of success in the school, it was university or nothing. And so then I pushed him towards a trade. He's a chippy, and he did that. And, he looks back now, and he's the manager of our timber division and runs our branches from our hardware stores. He's done exceptionally well. Won TAFE Student of the Year and a few awards there as well. But so for me, the pathway to, one's future, be it whatever it may be, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to progress into management or any leadership business roles. You may very well be a tradie all your life, and that's a great life to have, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so the opportunities either within the trade itself or for progression are certainly there. And the world needs to be educated that there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great way forward to build a career, whichever direction you take. So, and as I say, there's a misguided view, in my opinion, about what can come as a result of a trade. And the MBA are exceptional. The number of apprentices you guys have and the love and passion you put behind it is exceptional. And that's why we get behind it so strongly. Naturally, from a business perspective, having the kids come to BIANCO twice a year for your safety briefings puts BIANCO in front of them, and they're in the store. So there's value back to BIANCO. But by the same token, it is really about doing the right thing by the kids and giving to the kids.
Your support's really appreciated. It's absolutely fantastic. And with what you were saying about your son's experience, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's that kind of big push to get every kid to go to uni. That's precisely why we're in this big tradie shortage that we've got now. That's why tradies are paid so well through demand and supply. And in fact, Master Builders estimates that by 2027, we'll need an extra 15,000 tradies just to meet demand in South Australia. So it is a really good opportunity, great time to get into the industry, and the world can be your oyster.
Are you talking me into going back to laying bricks, Will, are you?
Well, we could probably do with you out there, to be honest, Dino.
They might even pay more now.
Well, it's good money, isn't it? It's being a brickie these days. So.
Well, that's right. And bricklaying, it's misguided as to how good a trade it is. It is actually a really good trade, and I've spoken a little bit on a couple other segments for the MBA, especially if you're into physical fitness. It is a hard trade. Let's not kid ourselves. It is a hard trade, but it's a skill that provides you with a really high sense of pride. You walk away at the end of the day and you see exactly what you've achieved. And you look at that, you say, I built that. And there's lots to be achieved in that in terms of plumb and level and, even joints and your finishes and how you rake, roll joints. And then you can get into more fancy work like arches and piers and, the days of chimney building are gone, but you certainly learn all that in trade school, which is great. So it's misguided. And again, as I said, I started off fitness. If you love your fitness, let me tell you, bricklaying makes you, super fit and super tough. So when I was doing it, I was going to the gym as well and pushing weights, and it was all about, that physical fitness. And, the trade helped immensely. And lots of kids go to the gym and I think, go lay bricks.
Yeah.
You get paid.
Well, I know the mates I've got who are brickies, they're absolutely ripped. Every single one of them.
Ripped, tanned, go tell the chicks you're a tradie and you never know. There could be young girls out there as tradie brickies as well. Why not?
Absolutely. So, this changing that mindset, about a trade as being a second option, no, stuff that, So another thing you've really supported MBA with is our Born to Build program. We included you in our first submissions to the government to try and get that program up and running. And you were the great example of where, starting an apprentice can take you. And that was really appreciated. And now Born to Build's up and firing. We've got a couple of field officers who are out there all the time going to schools, career expos, sporting clubs, with our members to promote the excellent career opportunities in the trades. And it's really exciting for me that we've just signed a partnership with the Adelaide Footy League. So we're going to be all through the Adelaide Footy League for the next 3 years. And also the Born to Build logo is going to be on every Guernsey in the league. And it just puts the front of mind for those kids in what we see as a target demographic. And you talked about female tradies before. We're really trying to replicate that boom we've seen with AFLW with women in trades.
Yeah, that's a great initiative. And it is about getting that mindset just to open the mind to the kids coming out of school, that there is an alternative, and there's nothing wrong with it. And there's great prospects in it, because we all know the directions that can be taken from trade. I've talked about a couple, but you could go into architecture, management, engineering at a later degree in life if you want to go back to school. There's so many, and the practical knowledge, once you've hit the trade, I talk to people about what's going on with renos and building, and because they've never actually been on a building site and seen it, even if you do one trade, you pick up the knowledge of all the trades around you and how you fit and how what you do affects the next trade and the trade before you, what they need to do to get it right for you. And all of a sudden, this knowledge of understanding the total build evolves in your own mind, even though you're doing one trade. So that knowledge, as you're starting off in life and you're either trying to do a reno or fix something at home, or for some cases, I've got a brother who's an engineer. He doesn't even know how to put a nail in a wall.
He's an engineer.
And he's a electrical engineer.
Yeah.
It just gives you a whole dimension of self-dependence, or independence, I should say, on being able to do stuff around your own home.
Yeah, they're great life skills as well as great working skills, right?
And let me tell you, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when your wife gives you a list of, I need this fixed, this done, instead of saying, who do I call? You just do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And smash it out.
Yeah. It's, a lot of people still don't know, especially parents we find don't really know what trades actually do. And to kind of address that, we've got this website and a careers handbook now. It's, and you can see the website. It's born2build.com.au. That's the number. And you can go on there. You can see what a typical day looks like for various trades, how much you can expect to get paid, how you get qualified. And that's really important for kids and parents to see that we as an industry, we've got our act together, and there's fantastic opportunities out there. It just makes us look a lot more professional.
Yeah, agreed. And it is about just getting that mind open early, and then let's have a look at it, boys and girls, and be prepared to work hard. Being a tradie, it's all about your own effort and your own productivity. People say to me, how do you go from being a brickie to CEO? I find the answer: make yourself invaluable. Just do what you do so well that you are invaluable, and then the opportunities will present themselves because you're the obvious choice. And then, your career can take you in any direction. And I mentioned earlier about there's nothing wrong with being a trader your whole life. One of the lessons I learned from one of our truckies was the question becomes, you're 65, you're looking back at life and you say, am I happy with what I did and achieved out of my career? And the answer to that question is not to be judged by society. It's to be able to look at your own life and say, what am I happy doing? And I remember a truckie in one of our training sessions when we were doing a group training session with Bianco, and he stood up and said, I'm a truckie and I want to be a truckie for the rest of my life. I've got the best job. I love what I do. I love being free. I love being out on the road. And when I'm retired, I'm going to look back and say I had the best job in the whole world ever. And there's nothing, that's the perfect answer. He's made a choice and he knows what he wants and he's out there doing it, and he's going to go down happy having done that. And there is nothing wrong with that. And then there are other people that have different, ambitions and aspirations and goals. And then again, the building career can provide that for you too. So it is a real opportunity to have the perfect balance or choice of career in any direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And, certainly something I hear from a lot of people all the time is, it's so satisfying to be able to look at a job when it's completed and know that I built that.
There you go. And you can count, and when you lay bricks, doesn't matter, you can count them in Italian, you can count them in English, you always get the same number that you've laid, and there's your target, right? And beat it the next day. So it's great fun.
Yeah, the other thing is, and you're talking about bricklaying is a great example, concrete is another one. Obviously, it's hard work, but building construction really is an industry that rewards hard work, isn't it, Dino? It's not for someone who wants to put their feet up, but if you want to work hard, you're prepared to work hard, then there's great opportunities out there and rewards.
Absolutely. And remuneration is quite healthy these days in a trade. So there's some comfort there. And then the opportunity to do some, work at your own, on the side or whatever you want to do out there. I'm allowed to say cash,
Yeah.
some weekenders and stuff. So there's always those opportunities as well. And look, the hard work, we're designed to move. We're built to move. When you're young and fit, isn't it just healthy as well, and so you're on site when you get those beautiful days, a little bit of a breeze, you're laying bricks, and it's just I'm talking as a brickie, obviously, but it's a great place to be.
This is where I get jealous of my younger brother, Ed, because he's out there every day. He's a lot fitter than I am. He's a lot healthier. He's a landscaper.
Oh, there you go.
And I don't like the fact that I've got a younger brother who's in much better physical nick than I am, but I guess it's a difference in lifestyles, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, we used to have great fun. Even on the line, when you've got a long line, you set up a tingle which holds the line up midway because you get too much sag, and we'd use a $5 note, on a particular course, and then you'd race to that $5 note, and whoever would beat the other. There's lots of fun you can have, and sitting on a plank having smoko. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Having a bit of a laugh with the boys.
That camaraderie is one of the great things about the industry, isn't it? Without a doubt.
Most definitely. Yeah, it's good fun. We had a lot of fun.
So Dino, you started your apprenticeship 82, I think you said. Is that right?
That's
so
correct.
You've been in the industry for more than 40 years now. How have you seen it evolve, or for better or for worse in that time? And your thoughts on the current state of the industry, particularly here in South Australia?
Okay, that's a good question. So the industry, in terms of the trade, let's play a significant factor here. Safety has improved outstandingly. So there's and that may come at times at a little bit of an expense to productivity at times, but overall, if you've got everybody coming to work safe every day, your productivity as a company will go up. So and let's face it, nobody needs to go home with any injuries. They need to go home in as good, if not better condition than the way they turned up. So safety's improved immensely, which is a really good thing. The 80s and 90s were quite heavy-handed with the union. That all backed off, and we found a really good working relationship with our people, and the productivity was there. There was no creation of an us and them between unions and employers, which I detest, because I view companies as everybody's on the same ship, and you have different roles. You have captains and admirals and deckhands and engine room people, and you need everybody to pull in the same direction to hit that destination. When you have a group pulling against the direction that you're trying to sail in, is just so disruptive, and you never end up hitting your destination. And I see that as quite traumatic for companies. So this new push is on foot. Let's see how that goes, but it does create me some concern. New rates, we're looking at a 30% increase. Now, great for the men, and I love that for the men, but the product, I always say I have two concerns about high wage growth. Number one is we've got to be competitive against our opposition. And number two, we can't make the product non-viable. So a job recently that we priced in Frankston in Victoria had 600 panels in it. That was all written down to 30 panels and shifted to curtain wall because the cost for the solution of the build was too expensive. And that came as a direct result of our increased labour rates. And so that's my concern, that it becomes too expensive to build out of precast. I'm obviously talking now on the precast front. So, look, the big issue, the big win has to be we all got every business, be it the single brickie with an apprentice or a labourer alongside him, or the big business, everybody on that ship needs to sail in the same direction and perform their function. I say to all our blokes, I'm no more important than you. I just do a different job. We need you. You need me. It's exactly how it's got to work, and we all need to work in unison to have that company go forward. So that's my philosophy and what I preach to the men. And to this date, BIANCO, we've always been renowned for looking after our people, which will never change. We just don't need the unnecessary disruption.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that, Dino. Certainly compared with other places around the country, we have had a pretty collaborative industry here in South Australia for a while. And I think, there's always going to be challenges, but I think we're operating better than anywhere else in Australia right now. If you look at insolvency rates around the country, SA is by far the lowest on the mainland. And that's because we have run like a more sustainable industry here in South Australia, I believe. If you look at some other places like Victoria, it seems like they've got a big builder that's going under every second week. So, I think it's challenging out there, no doubt, but it's less risky in South Australia than anywhere else in the country right now.
Yeah, we've had some developers come over from Victoria, sold up everything in Victoria. Viability and cost to build is so exorbitant, it doesn't stack up for them to invest there. They're buying land in SA with the intent to build. Now, how does that play out with rising costs here as well? And Adelaide, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, the viability of return for investment in Adelaide is a much tougher game because we are still, with all due respect, I love Adelaide, don't take this the right way, but we are a big country town. You know, the best one is we're still deemed as regional for people trying to get their visas, right? I think that's amazing. But and so it's really sensitive here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that progresses with the current active involvement that's creating these additional costs.
Yeah, scale obviously makes it easier for the bigger states, but when I look at some of the costs of building over in the eastern states, it's absolutely out of control, I think.
Yeah.
I know Melbourne's one of the most expensive places to build in the whole world, and that can, being a bigger city, they can hold that to some degree, but if you try and push that onto a place like Adelaide, it's just not going to stack up. The risk is projects don't go ahead, people don't have jobs.
Exactly, and then it's just a domino effect, isn't it? And the building industry is such a big factor in employment and growth and people's expense. People, if people are doing well and the state's doing well and they think, where do I put some dough? And there's the bathroom renovation, or there's the kitchen upgrade, or there's the extension at the back. It's all building industry. It's all building related. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest investment people will make is in their homes. And the homes are building game. That's where it all happens. And so it's where we spend most of our time, most of our life, most of our pride of who we are reflects our hobbies are all based there. So it is such a big part of our lives, and it needs to be maintained as a viable proposition for people to have that dream.
Absolutely. You can't have a strong economy without a strong building construction industry. Massive industry, does about $14 billion of work a year here in South Australia, employs more than 75,000 South Australians directly. But then the benefits of a strong building construction industry, as you were saying, Dino, flow through to everyone. So the ABS produced a report about the industries that have the highest economic multiplier effects, and residential building was 2, non-residential building was 3. So that really says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, there you go, Will. Your brother's a landscaper, mate, but he can't quote numbers straight off the top of his head like that. So well done.
He can make a place look a lot better than me, though, that's for sure. So shout out to Ed Frogley.
Yeah, good on you, Ed.
Yeah. So, obviously we talked about trades and stuff. What else do you think really needs to change for the building industry in South Australia going forward? What are our main challenges over, say, the next 5 to 10 years, do you think?
The biggest one is demand. You quoting numbers of needing 15,000 more trades in the upcoming years is that's naturally demand pushes up, or shortage of availability will push up costs in terms of people and then the frustration that gets behind things not being done and
longer to build and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, exactly, and slabs down, and you see all of that on television where people devastated over their homes. Left in disarray for a couple of years and beyond while they're trying to move in there. It's terrible. So there's no doubt demand of trade supply. There's going to be a lot sucked up with what's coming up with defence work, shipbuilding. Boilermakers right now they are rare as hen's teeth. I would love to see an easing on the government with the allowing immigrants to come in. Yeah. So we have one thing we're very proud of at BIANCO is we have over 30 different nationalities working for us just in the precast business. I love the diversity that we have in our employment with different nationalities. We have people that have their cousins in the Philippines, for example, skilled Boilermakers. We have been through, it's 9 months, and we're still trying to get through the red tape to recruit them and to get them here. And everyone is totally aware that we need tradies, and Boilermakers is one of the primary, and we just can't get them. We just cannot get them. It's ludicrous in my opinion, but so I see trade shortage and easing up to allow immigrants to come in. Let's face it, a lot of the country was built. I'm not saying that it was nowhere, but the influx of immigrants in the 50s, it really brought in a boom in in terms of growth and trade skill, which is where my dad came over in the 50s from Italy. So, yeah, I think that's where we could have some improvement.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Dino. The only way we're going to get within a bull's roar of fixing this trade shortage is getting more locals trained and bringing in more skilled trades from overseas. It's the only way, right?
To breed them, train them, and get them out there, we ain't going to do it quick enough.
Exactly. Employers need people now, so obviously it takes time to train people locally. So we've got to be looking at places, like the UK, Philippines, etc., to bring in those skilled tradespeople. Increase recognition for their prior qualifications, or shorter bridging courses to get them out there as soon as possible.
And people will be surprised. I was part of a business that we manufactured structural steel in Indonesia, and I visited that facility over there, on a number of occasions. And the skill level of welding and trade qualification was way above what I thought I was going to see. So there is some really good skills in neighbouring countries, and they would love the opportunity, obviously, for the Australian life. We just can't get them. It's just too hard to go through the red tape and the time. And look, no doubt, I'm very well aware of the risks of who we bring into the country, and we've got to do that right and be thorough as to who comes in. But by the same token, it can't be as laborious and time-consuming as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. So if I look at today compared with 2 years ago, probably the biggest gripe from the members was accessing materials. And now it's more people. I just can't get enough people, whatever it is, whatever trade it is, or a site manager or whatever it is. It's a really big challenge.
Yeah. It's an employees market now. I mean, things go in cycles and things shift, and, that eventually will find its level again. But, right now, without a doubt, people are the issue. From a supply perspective, talking from the business side now of the hardware, that's really leveled off. So all of that pain we don't have that pain anymore for supply. It is now, people for sure. And as I say, with what's coming up in Adelaide with defence work and, the tunnel at South Road, and there's going to be a lot of resource sucked up. Mining's doing well again. So a lot of people are, shifting out to there. There's no doubt labour shortage is our biggest issue.
Absolutely. Well, Dino, it's been a pleasure having you on the Building Perspective podcast today. Very interesting life story, and you're such a great supporter of master builders in the industry here in South Australia. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Will. I'm flattered. For the opportunity, and thank you very much. Thanks to the MBA, and we'll back you every step of the way we can.
Thanks for joining me on Building Perspective. For more information on master builders or our guests, please visit our website at mbasa.com.au.